He was nervous about his first time. I never expected this a true infidelity story. Disclaimer: this story is a work of dramatized nonfiction and is intended for emotional storytelling and awareness purposes. I always believed in fairy tales. When Daniel and I got married, I thought I was stepping into one. He was gentle, respectful, and most of all, he had told me he was a virgin. That touched my heart in a way nothing else could. He said he had waited his whole life for the right person, and that person was me. Our wedding was magical. But on our wedding night, something felt off. Daniel was anxious. His hands trembled, and he avoided eye contact. I thought it was just nerves. I even felt flattered. Maybe he was overwhelmed by emotion. I comforted him, whispered that we had all the time in the world. That first night didn't go as planned, but I brushed it off. Love was more than just physical, right? The weeks turned into months. Our intimacy improved, slowly. But that nervous energy, something deeper, never truly went away. I began to notice how uncomfortable he got around my best friend, Jenna. They barely spoke, barely looked at each other. At first, I thought it was just a personality clash. Then one evening, while cleaning the guest room closet, I stumbled upon an old phone tucked in the back of a drawer. Curious, I charged it. When it turned on, I found messages, voice notes, and pictures. My heart dropped. The messages were between Daniel and Jenna. The dates? A week before our wedding. He had slept with her. The worst part wasn't just that he had lied about being a virgin. It was that his first time wasn't even out of passion or drunken confusion. In the texts, he said he wanted to be ready for me. He wanted to practice so he wouldn't mess things up. Practice? With my best friend? I confronted Jenna first. She cried, said it was a mistake. Said she thought she was helping him. Helping? Was this some twisted charity? Daniel didn't deny it. He broke down, said he loved me so much he wanted everything to be perfect. But all I saw was betrayal. He didn't wait for me. He waited until the last possible moment and still chose someone else. I left that night. Love isn't about performance. It's about honesty, trust, and loyalty. I could have forgiven nerves. But not this. I didn't just lose a husband. I lost a best friend too. And that pain? It cuts deeper than anything. When Jason returned from his military deployment, I could see he wasn't the same man I had said goodbye to a year earlier. His eyes held a depth I couldn't quite understand. I had prepared myself for emotional wounds, nightmares, and maybe even distance, but I wasn't prepared for what he was really hiding. We got married a few months after his return. On our wedding night, I noticed his hesitation. His hands shook as he tried to undress me. His breath was shallow, and he kept pulling away. I whispered that I understood, that we didn't need to rush anything. I thought maybe he was traumatized from war, maybe he'd seen or experienced something horrific that changed his relationship with intimacy. I gave him space. I loved him, and I was willing to wait. Weeks passed, then months. He barely touched me. We cuddled, we kissed, but anything beyond that, he avoided. I begged him to open up, to let me in. Finally, I convinced him to join me in couples therapy. That's where everything shattered. In a session filled with silence and tears, Jason finally broke down. He confessed that while he was deployed, he had felt incredibly lonely and disconnected. And during a particularly vulnerable moment, he slept with someone. I prepared myself for the worst, but nothing could have prepared me for who it was. It wasn't a woman. It was his best friend, Chris, his fellow soldier. I sat there frozen. Jason looked broken, ashamed. He told me it wasn't just a one-time thing. It happened multiple times. He didn't know if he was gay or bisexual or just confused. He said he didn't know how to tell me. That he had never been with anyone before, not even a woman. That Chris was his actual first time. His nervousness, it wasn't just about physical intimacy. It was guilt, shame, fear of rejection. He loved me, at least he believed he did. But he was also carrying a truth he didn't understand himself. I was devastated. Not because he'd been with a man, but because he lied. Because he married me knowing there was a part of himself he hadn't accepted yet. Because I built a future with someone who hadn't even figured out his own past. I didn't scream. I didn't cry in front of him. I just nodded slowly and walked out of the session. That night, I packed a bag and left. Some truths are too heavy to carry for both people. Jason needed to find himself, and I needed to heal. Our love story didn't end in war, but in the silence that followed. Ryan always came off as the picture-perfect man, respectful, soft-spoken, and deeply in love with me. He told me he had never been with anyone else before, and that he wanted to wait until marriage. I was touched. In a world full of casual hookups and meaningless flings, I thought I'd found someone pure. Someone rare. Our wedding was beautiful. Every moment felt like a dream. But on our wedding night, something was off. Ryan was distant. His hands trembled, and he barely made eye contact. I could feel his body tense up with every touch. I assumed he was nervous. It was his first time after all. I smiled, told him we had forever. That night passed slowly, awkwardly, but I didn't question it. I thought love would make everything better. Weeks went by. Our physical intimacy was minimal, almost robotic. Something felt off. The passion wasn't there. I brushed it off as post-wedding stress, or maybe he was just shy. But my gut kept telling me something was wrong. Then one day, while helping his younger brother clean out his phone, I stumbled upon a video. It was footage from Ryan's bachelor party. His friends had rented a cabin, drank too much, and apparently hired a stripper. The video wasn't just dancing and wild laughter. It was much more than that. It was Ryan, in a bedroom, with her. My heart dropped. I watched in shock as the man who claimed he'd saved himself for me lay with another woman just days before our wedding. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't hesitant. He was fully present, passionate, confident. The complete opposite of how he was with me. My world shattered. When I confronted him, he couldn't even lie. He looked down and said, "I panicked. I didn't want to disappoint you. I thought if I got it over with before the wedding, I'd be better for you." Better for me? He cheated, lied, broke the very foundation of our marriage before it even began. And the worst part? He robbed me of the intimacy I thought we were saving together. I packed my things and left that same night. My friends told me to give him a second chance, that it was just a mistake. But to me, it wasn't just a physical betrayal, it was the emotional one. The lie, the cowardice, the fact that instead of being honest or vulnerable, he chose to cross a line and thought I'd never find out. He was nervous about our first time. But now I know why, because he had already betrayed it. Nor was raised in a deeply religious family, as was Adil. When we got married, we both vowed to uphold the values we grew up with, waiting until marriage, keeping our relationship pure and sacred. Adil told me he was nervous about our first night together because he had never been with a woman before, and he wanted everything to be perfect. I admired his honesty and his respect for our faith. I was patient. I thought love, trust, and devotion would guide us through. But things started to feel strange. Adil would avoid being alone with me sometimes, and I noticed how his eyes flickered away whenever I mentioned intimacy. I brushed it off as shyness or pressure. One day, I stumbled across some secret messages on his phone. Hidden behind innocent conversations were exchanges with Maham, his cousin. The texts weren't just friendly. They were filled with hidden affection, secret meetings, and a closeness that felt wrong. When I confronted Adil, his face turned pale. He confessed everything, that the nervousness wasn't about waiting for me, but about the guilt he felt. That his first time had been with Maham, his own cousin, months before the wedding. The revelation hit me like a lightning bolt. Not only was he hiding this from me, but the betrayal cut even deeper because it was forbidden by both religion and family honor. Noor cried as she told me I never expected this from him. I thought we were partners in faith. But he broke everything sacred between us. The pain was unbearable. The shame, The betrayal, it wasn't just personal, it was communal. Families found out. Elders were furious. I felt like a disgrace, a failure. Adil tried to explain that it was complicated, that love sometimes comes in unexpected forms. But in our world, where religion governs every choice, his actions were unforgivable. Our marriage ended in heartbreak and public disgrace. I left him, knowing that what we had was broken beyond repair. In the end, the nervousness I thought was innocent was a mask for secrets darker than I could have imagined. Mia thought Eric was the perfect husband. Calm, caring, and gentle. On our honeymoon night, he was nervous, fidgeting, fumbling through the moments. I told myself it was just first-time jitters. I reassured him, whispered that we had all the time in the world. Life moved on, but his nervousness never truly left. Our intimacy was distant, uncomfortable. Eric would avoid staying late at home and made excuses whenever I asked about his days. One afternoon, I was organizing old boxes in the attic and came across an old security camera I didn't recognize. Curious, I connected it to my phone and played the footage stored on it. What I saw crushed me. Eric, sneaking into our home late at night. But he wasn't alone. With him was Lisa, our neighbor. They laughed, whispered, and eventually went into our bedroom. I couldn't believe my eyes. Eric's first time hadn't been with me, not on our wedding night or honeymoon. It had happened weeks before, right under my nose. I confronted him the next day, showing him the footage. His face turned white. He admitted everything, the lies, the betrayal, the secret he'd been hiding. He said he was nervous with me because he felt guilty. Guilty for betraying my trust and the vows we made. I felt disgusted and broken. How could the man I trusted most be the one who stabbed me in the back? I told Eric to leave our home. Our family and friends heard the news, and his parents sided with me, shocked by his betrayal. The hardest part wasn't just that he cheated. It was that he thought he could hide it forever, thinking his nervousness on our first night would cover up a deeper betrayal. From the moment Noah and I started dating, I felt something special. He was shy but kind, and when he told me he was a virgin, I was proud, like I was the one who would unlock a new world for him. When we married, our wedding night was awkward. Noah was nervous, fumbling over words and actions. I tried to be patient, thinking he was just inexperienced. But over time, his nervousness seemed deeper than simple anxiety. He kept secrets, avoided conversations about our pasts, and always seemed distracted. One day, while cleaning, I found a worn-out journal hidden under his bed. Curiosity got the best of me, and I opened it. Page after page, I read his confessions, his deepest thoughts and feelings. And then, the bombshell. Noah wrote about Beth, his ex-girlfriend. He admitted that he had slept with her just to get it over with before marrying me. He called it a practice to be ready for me. The pain in his words was clear, but so was the betrayal. He had lied to me. The nervousness wasn't about inexperience, but guilt. Guilt for deceiving me. I confronted him, journal in hand. He was silent, unable to meet my eyes. I read the pages aloud, letting the weight of his words sink into the room. That night, I left without saying a word. It wasn't just the act of cheating. It was the dishonesty, the coldness, the idea that I wasn't enough for his first time, that he needed practice elsewhere. Noah's nervousness had been a mask, a shield from facing the truth. When Mark and I got engaged, he told me he was nervous about our wedding night because it would be his first time. I was touched and felt special, believing that I was the only one he had ever loved that way. On our wedding night, Mark was tense and awkward, fumbling through everything. I told him it was okay and that we could take our time. But as days passed, his nervousness didn't fade. Instead, I sensed a secret weighing on him. One evening, after a long day, Mark sat me down and confessed something that shattered my world. He admitted that he wasn't as innocent as he'd claimed. Before we met, he had been with a woman, a coworker, but it was complicated. They weren't just lovers. She was married. They had a secret affair that lasted months. He told me he was nervous because he feared I'd reject him if I knew the truth. I was stunned. The nervousness, the distance, it all made sense now. But the real shock came when he said he ended the affair only because he fell in love with me and wanted a fresh start. I was torn between love and betrayal. I realized that the nervousness wasn't about inexperience, it was about guilt. Guilt from hiding a dark secret. For days, I wrestled with my emotions. Could I forgive him? Could our love survive this? In the end, I chose to believe in honesty and healing. We decided to attend counseling to rebuild trust, brick by brick. Our story isn't perfect, but it's real. Sometimes, nervousness hides 1,000 secrets. And sometimes, love means facing them head-on. One